not hang up.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, host of the Praxi Pod. And today we have a very special guest. And this was actually quite impromptu, but we've been speaking about this, coming on this show for quite a while. A little while. But welcome, Ole Olesen-Bagneux.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Andy, you go by both names, right?
Yeah, and more abusive ones as well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you my nickname because we're not met yet. But we may be meeting virtually. But when we meet in person in Copenhagen, then we can drink White Russians and reminisce about topics that we may all be both interested in.
Yeah.
So yeah, for people that thank you for joining the Praxi Pod today. So yeah, for people that don't know what Praxi Pod's about, it's about this phenomenon. Oh yes, data. Oh, there's no interest in there. Data always is interesting, but also this thing called AI. Yeah. So obviously, I don't think it'll catch on. It's a passing phase. And as I saw on your Substack comment the other day, which was quite funny, was what happens when all the AI hype cycle dies down? What happens next?
Yeah.
So
companies have a plan B, right?
Well, yes, this is the thing. All these motivational speakers, they all say, never have a plan B, always have a plan A. You've got to focus on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for coming on the show. And obviously, we recently published the previous episode, which was with, I think, somebody very well, Ms. Talisman,
yes,
San Diego, Jessica Talisman. Which when I read both of your amazing books, which we'll get onto in a second, I didn't realize obviously the kind of the integration to you, and obviously there's also a few other people I've noticed on in your testimonials that I know as well, like Tiankai, etc. Tianka's been on the show as well, actually, last year, actually. Right. Yeah,
Mr. ThoughtWorks.
He's Mr. Adidas. I knew when he was at Adidas, actually. But yeah. So welcome to the show. And in terms of today's format, I suppose I know you've been working. I know you've kind of got two worlds, haven't you? You kind of got your day job, which is like do what you do, and then you've got the kind of your writing passion. So I suppose one of the things that today I wanted to do was talk about your latest book. But then what I want to do is just celebrate and say, "Ta-da!"
Oh, thank you.
This is your first book, I presume. Is that right?
Yes, that is my first book. Yes, my first book with already.
Which, as we were talking about just before we came on the show or came live, was actually I've been involved in. I don't know all my history, but I've been involved in data since year dot, and it's incredible that this book wasn't written before. So I salute you for putting this together, because this phenomenon is obviously out there a lot, and we'll come back to it. But it's incredible that nobody actually kind of grabbed the nettle and actually went and wrote this book, because it's very helpful, actually, especially about search and also some stuff about taking it back to Greek times, the Demetrius and all his great Greek, Greek thinking. Greek thinking.
Love that.
So it's also interesting that of the people that you actually had in circulation for this book as well, actually, because there's some usual suspects in this kind of ecosystem.
Yes.
Which I thought probably when you got this commission with O'Reilly, probably, I need to go loud.
Suddenly got a lot of new friends.
Suddenly you got a new BFF squad. Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you ask.
Well, no. So I was just going to say, so for people that don't know you, that maybe listen to this show, because we obviously, we started this episode. Well, we started this podcast last year, even though I've got a few podcasts that I do, not just this one. So it'd be useful to do like a quick intro, because I know you've got a background of being in real businesses, and also now you're in a kind of a software business now, which is a bit of a hybrid existence, which is similar to what I've done as well in my career as well. So
yes. So I have two specific comments that I want to add to the fact that you mentioned my first book. The fact that it hasn't been written before, that's very nice of you to say. and I will say it on air. Please put that on Amazon, because I'm not.
It's true. It's true. I mean, there's a lot.
Please put that review on Amazon. I have not said it enough to people, and it's very important. So please do that every time.
Just a quick question: in your literature search, right? Because I've done my master, I'm not done a PhD. I'm not like a doctor like you are, but never say never. But I presume when you did the literature research, there wasn't a book like this before.
No.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll do a short introduction of myself and obviously also explain how that connects to my first book and also my second book. But I just wanted to say, like, frankly, like, please put that on Amazon as a review, because I've not been good enough at taking like compliments and saying, like, don't say it to me, say it to Amazon, say it to Goodreads.
I'll promise you, I'll do it today, and I'll put an image of it on LinkedIn today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. That's very thankful. Friendly of you. Okay, so who am I? My name is Ole Olesen-Bagneux. You can also call me O2. My CEO at Action calls me
O2.
O2. My CEO calls me O Square, and the Chief Product Officer in HCL Software calls me Stratospheric O3, which is a fantastic compliment. But anyway, I'm based in Copenhagen, Denmark. I have a long academic background. I wanted to be a professor. When I wake up in the morning and the rest of the family is still asleep, I still want to be a professor. But I have a bachelor, master's, and a PhD in library information science from the University of Copenhagen. I also taught at the university. I published a lot of research papers. And then I went into industry. I actually got a tenure professorship, but I went into industry, and I think that was the best for academia and also for me. I'm very, very pleased with being in industry. I've worked in various real like manufacture companies in and around Copenhagen, in the pharmaceutical sector, in the pharma like life science sector. GN Store Nord. GN stands for Great Northern. It's been in telecommunications always, like acoustic engineering. It started off as a telegraph company 150 years ago. I love this history of Great Northern. We actually beat the British telegraph monopoly on the world stage together with the US.
That's impossible. That's impossible.
No, it wasn't impossible.
That must be a lie.
We did that. We beat the Victorian internet. And then it was a company that just evolved with time and created the first walkie-talkies, also for the London Bobbies. Actually, it's a fantastic company. I love that company. It's the company I love the most in Copenhagen. And should I go back to industry?
And what's it called? What's the company called?
GN Store Nord. GN stands for Great Northern. They produce Jabra headsets. They own.
Oh yeah, okay.
They own the SteelSeries gaming company. They produce hearing instruments. They were the first to connect hearing instruments to iPhones, so that your hearing instrument would so your hearing instrument got an app, and
you see,
it's super advanced company. I love it. It's a real.
That sounds really good. It means my favorite Danish company was actually inspired by my father, because he was a bit of an audio, like a traditional audio record kind of guy, yeah.
Okay.
And he in his coveted purchase, which he then got me to buy as well, was a Bang & Olufsen.
Yeah, I love Bang & Olufsen also.
Which is obviously Danish as well, isn't it? Is that right?
That's right? Right. It's Danish. It's a beautiful. Like, I have too much hi-fi gear, but I also have Bang & Olufsen right here. I love their design and their sensibility of sound. Obviously, it's a different style than Jabras, which are for the office. Bang & Olufsen really is like perfectionism in terms of Danish design history, and I love them as well. But anyway,
it's like other great exports, like the Vikings. You see, so I'm half Irish, and apparently my friends in Denmark, obviously including you, now say that Dorath, do the right thing, and I'm a Viking.
Yes,
so there you go. Because obviously most of England was may have been dominated by the Vikings at some point in
Yeah.
time.
I'm not sure that export style is, well, it is perhaps coming back in fashion these years, but anyway, that's a totally different. Yes. Anyway.
It's Viking data exploitation. That's what it is. Viking metadata. That's what it is.
That is what it is. Like add some horns to your helmet, kind of style. This is an enormous detour. I'm trying to explain myself, but okay. So I have this academic background, this long academic background. I published peer-reviewed papers in high-level journals, and then I got into industry, and I was working in industry when I was confronted. Like I've been a data leader, and I've been an enterprise architect, but really at a strategic advisory level. And then I was confronted with this thing called the data catalog, and that's really the intro in my book, that I was sitting here looking at that technology, and there's a lot of features that just like column-based data lineage and like privacy, and like a lot of features and a lot of things and it was really hard to understand what it was, and then I got this epiphany that this is a search engine for data. And I thought, it's incredible that you have these companies with like seeded technologies, perhaps Series A, Series B. Like they have a lot of millions of dollars and they are good at data, but they are not very good at catalog. They don't seem to understand what a catalog is. That was the feeling that I had. And this is coming from someone that has taught cataloging, like the standards of cataloging that has been practiced for 150 years in the library community all over the world, with brilliant scholars from all kinds of countries. So I was just very surprised to see this. And so I thought, I can write a book about this. I can write a book about the enterprise data catalog, not as a technology itself. That's as well documented, technical documentation. So what I can offer is how to make a data catalog really work, pulling or harnessing the insights from library information science and giving that insight to the data community, to the computer science and data engineering and data science community. And so that was why I proposed this book to O'Reilly, and it got really they said that normally they wouldn't accept a book about such a small technology category, but exactly because of this perspective, they thought it was very interesting. And so I got accepted, which is obviously not something a lot of proposals
No, you get rejected. Yeah,
get rejected with O'Reilly, right?
No, but you see, when I was reading it, just to jump in, sorry a second, but no, thanks for doing the intro, was that you're basically doing a bridge. You're like a bridge between these two worlds, right?
Yeah.
Because, the thing I would say, because I've got a business background, but I'm obviously now in software myself, and the thing is, sometimes the technologists kind of take over the asylum. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes.
And and IT takes over the asylum. Blah 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 blah. And there's all these acronyms and all these TLAs and FLAs and everything like that. But actually, what is there's a key point you make about searching for data and searching in data, and there's also a key point about user adoption.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of data catalog graveyards out there. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I used to say that data catalogs is where metadata goes to die.
Oh wow, that's a great quote.
yeah. You could use it. It's like, I mean that. I've seen so many. That's also part of the motivation of writing the book. You can be as tech as you want. You can have as many acronyms as you want. You can have all those flimsy, weird slides with a lot of things that nobody understands, and you can seem like a genius, but that will not get any technology implemented.
Well, it's adoption, and it's also that thing, that decision framework, which actually, it's interesting. It triggered in my head. Is it called DICRA? Is it DICRA?
DICRA.
DICRA, yeah. The kind of data, insight, knowledge, action, result. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was in Tesco, because I've got a retail background, right? So we had this concept called DNA, data, insight, action.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's like a typical retail thing. It's shortened. It's like the academic version is 5 steps. You got well, we can't do 5 steps. Let's do 3. Let's take the waste out. 3 steps.
Yeah.
But that was what it triggered with me, was about actually, this whole thing about you want to create productivity for people, and actually how do you use these capabilities to do that? Kind of sometimes you've got to think about the user experience and make sure it's actually engaging. Otherwise, you kind of lost the patient.
Sure.
Where is the user?
yeah, that rare person that sometimes uses our systems, right? No, I think like another core message in my book is how you organize data defines how you can search it. And I think that a lot of data catalogs have been conceived for extremely techie people, like the selected few that in the heydays of data before AI could implement a technology and pay a free or even sometimes or like a 6 or even sometimes 7-digit dollar annual fee to use a technology that only 10, 15 people used in a company. And those days, luckily, are over. And so I think...
You say something about data science, don't you? You talk about data scientists, I think, don't you, somewhere in it?
Yeah, sure, I do. But they like how they use a data catalog, why they use it, and like their motivation for using it is something that I obviously want to address. But I really think that all employees should be able to search for data. That's like my ideal. So kind of going back to the story of myself a little bit to finish off that that part of the conversation here. When I was writing the book about the enterprise data catalog, I was learning that it's very important to communicate about your ideas and that you're writing the book. And so I did that at my following on LinkedIn, especially like really took off. And I have spoken to the majority of the CEOs of data catalog companies, and many of them are now integrated into bigger technologies. And I discovered a small technology in France called Senea. And I think, when I discovered this technology, I was still working in GN Store. I was an enterprise architect. I was doing advisory for like the executive management team in GN Store. It's a big company. It's like a 7,000-8,000 people company, right? So that's relatively big, at least in the Danish context. And so I discovered them, and I invited them to write the foreword of the book because they really embodied the ideas that I had about data catalogs in a way that I don't think any other vendor, at least at the time, did. I still think that is the case, actually. And so that's kind of a faux pas. Like you cannot have a tech vendor writing the foreword of a tech book that's supposed to be tech agnostic. But I did that anyway. And then after the book was published, I was invited in as the chief evangelist of Senea. And so finally I found myself in a software company, which I discovered was really fun and extremely hard. It was a startup, right? So we had a lot of pressure. We did not have a lot of money. And I had to travel a lot, and I didn't get to see my family all that much. And that was like that was too much. Anyway, Senea was sold. I went back into GN Store. And then Action that bought Senea, and like their division of HCL Software, they discovered, oh, that guy didn't come as part of the acquisition. We want that guy. And then they began reaching out to me and had some meetings, and I made sure I could like travel and talk to all my readers and represent Action, but also spend time with my family. So I think I have a very ideal setup. I'm extremely proud of being part of Action HCL Software, and very, very pleased with what I do. I think actually my life is blended. So you said that I have kind of two lives, my day job and then my writing job in the evening. I think it's becoming just one thing, and that is wonderful.
Interesting. So they didn't catch you, but then they caught you again.
Yeah. And obviously also like and then also like my next book it's just been released. I haven't seen it yet as a physical copy because it's so new, but it's the Fundamentals of Metadata Management that was published August 4th. Like it publishes, then after a week you can buy the ebook, and then some weeks later the physical copies begin appearing, but it's a very material thing, obviously, a physical copy. So people that live closest to the printers gets the book first. Like if you're in the US,
where is it? Where they print them?
They print them in several parts of the world. I know they print them in the UK and they print them in the US, and I also think that they print them in India.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a dedicated reseller for the Indian subcontinent. So I think
I thought you were going to do the kind of ground reveal. You're going to say, it's like, like this is the new book, but you can't do that yet.
I don't have it.
You have to print out a cover and then like hold a piece of paper up.
Yeah. I can. Let's see what we can do in the post production of this podcast. But no, I still haven't seen it. But basically, so do you want me to talk about that book or?
Yeah. I think that. So the first thing it would be anybody that's in the data space. I recommend that you read this book because you think it's very. There's definitely some. It's definitely not usually O'Reilly's a technical book, but what you do is you abstract some key principles that people need to think about. So it's just not. You're not like it's a business technical book. I would say.
Yeah.
It's more. Which is good. But then.
No, thank you.
I'm a reader. I'll do lots of reading. You won't see my libraries at home. I've got lots of libraries at home. It's like every room's full of books. Anyway.
No, but you capture the essence of the book quite well. It was actually a big concern for me, also for my next book, right? Like, people don't understand that technology itself won't make technology successful. It's obviously a big part of it, right? But it's like
exactly.
It's not like. I don't think books should be code repositories. They are extremely poor code repositories because you can't update them. So if you want to write a tech book, it shouldn't be like pasted with code. At least that's what I think. It needs to be something that's unique, that has
It's crafted.
Yeah. Yes, and also like a book needs a reason to be in the world.
Yes.
The worst reason you can give a book is to show that you're clever. That's the dumbest thing you can do.
Exactly.
Dumb. Like that's extremely dumb. Like you need a book to have something that makes it stand out, so that like that the reader feels the obvious necessity for this book to exist. If that does not come through clearly in a book, it's a bad book. And my book is simply about taking the learnings from library information science and applying it at a technology category that had ignored the very nature of what it is. Right?
I agree.
That's what it is. No, nothing more, nothing less. Obviously, it takes a lot of technological context to understand it, but that's it. And the same thing goes for my next book, if we should talk about it, like Fundamentals of Metadata Management.
Well, yeah, before you mention that, because I think one of the things I was just going to say to you was, and I'd like you to just explain to the audience what's coming up. And obviously, I think there's a link we can provide as well, which for people that are interested in actually getting the ebook before the physical book comes to my door as well, as well as Ole's door. One of my very good friends, who was a previous CEO that I worked with, wrote the Enterprise Data Lake book for O'Reilly.
Yeah.
A guy called Alex Gorelick that I knew for over 20 years and worked with him in Silicon Valley. So he had a previous business around this area as well. That's all I'll say. If you look at my background, you'll work out who that is. And anyway, but that was when Hadoop was the sexy thing to have. Yeah. Obviously, potentially Hadoop's the sexy thing to have sometimes, but also other things as well. Anyway, so it'd be great to get kind of a walkthrough, because I know that when you've got a new concept that you've been writing about, and I'll know you'll explain that. Because I think for people who are data practitioners, data leaders, interested in data, and if you're not interested in data, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. No, I'm joking. But you should, it's like, hello, anybody there? But the importance of data is obviously paramount, right? So in most businesses, whatever kind of role you're doing, usually, and I'm just aware there's been a lot of constructs, even from back in the day when I was a young boy, when I had shorts on, from a guy called Bill Inman, Ralph Kimball, blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff, right? Now you fast forward to today, like there's things like all these other things that you mentioned in your second book, which I smiled because I said, oh, there's all these different, data something, data something, data something, data something. Yeah, but everybody's still struggling, to manage this at scale continually and deal with all change. So I think maybe there's some essence of what you may be talking about in your new book, maybe. Wink, wink.
Yeah, it is. It is. Surely it is. So how to start? Like I was writing this book when I was part of Cinea. I had the idea of the book. Actually, this idea is older than my first book. It's an old idea because it's a problem that everyone that works in real enterprise is confronted with. Not all software vendors understand it. Certainly if they are like politicians that have never been in industry. Some software vendors, I tend to think of them as politicians that have never worked in real companies. It's like they have.
Well, I was just going to say that was you meet a lot of people in this world, right?
Yeah.
Some people went straight from graduate school, straight into technology. They never had a real operational job in a real business, right? So they don't have that perspective. Yeah.
They don't know what it is. They don't really know what it is. They can read about it and they can think about it and they can fear it, I guess. Is there a lot of background noise? I have some work going on in my house.
A little bit, but it's okay.
I can close the window.
But that might be good. Yeah.
That's
a little interlude while Ole shuts the window.
Is that better?
Well, welcome back. Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, small technical challenge, but my book, the idea of this book really, like it goes back to the beginning of my career when I was working as like fresh out of university, and I was confronted. I had this colleague, I won't name his name and I won't name the company, but some people that listen to this podcast may know who that person is. But anyway, he was a funny guy. He could laugh like he had I call it a machine gun laugh in the opening of the book. Like it's like he could like really, and he could just burst into laughter like that. And anyway, he's a funny guy, but he showed me an enormous list of IT systems in the company we worked for. And he just said, like, look at this list. It just goes on. And there were just like hundreds of pages of these systems and nobody knew what they were doing. And I asked him, can we turn this off? I mean,
yeah, switch them all off and see if anybody complains.
Yeah. And he said, well, we were not willing to take the risk. We don't know what these systems do, but we're not willing to take the risk because what if something happens, right? And so,
they used to call that. Used to call that kind of cut the ropes to the boats. Yeah. That's a bit like the Viking analogy again. Yeah. cut the ropes to the boat. Let's let the boats go.
Let's see what happens, right? It's a little bit. Not saying I'm a fan of that at all, actually, but it's a little bit what Elon Musk did with Twitter, right? What actually happened when he fired all those engineers? It's a big nothing burger, right? Nothing happened. But anyway, that's a different story, and I'm not taking a position on that. I want to make that clear. But anyway,
Elon, stop calling me. Stop calling me, Elon.
No, but that experience, that situation, it just like it stayed with me. And as I accumulated experience and I saw more companies and I saw more IT landscapes, I I could see this again and again. It's really the reality of all companies out there.
It's like Groundhog Day, isn't it?
It is Groundhog Day, and I was thinking about, okay, what's the core reason of this Groundhog Day? And what I learned, especially as an enterprise architect, where you're supposed to be like, you're paid as a VP, or at least if you're good at it, but you have no mandate, so you're pushed around like a regular employee, and so you find yourself in the really in a hustle and bustle of trying to explain stuff and saying this is the right thing to do because of my analysis of this and that. And then you still don't have the.
But you see what you're doing also. So if you look at my background, you'll see the relevance why I made this comment. Right? Is there's a thing called, like if you stood at a cricket like this, and these are your legs. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to protect the wicket. Yeah. Because there's corky balls coming down at you all the time, right? But you kind of balancing between, a bit like your bridge company goes, balancing between business and technology. You're trying to make the right decisions for the organization, aren't you? In that role.
Exactly. No, it's a really I love that discipline. It's a really interesting discipline. I love it. I still do it. I still assess technologies. You can't be a tech author if you don't look at a lot of technologies. But I kind of begin understanding that the reason why this problem exists is because we have many different metadata repositories, and they are all linked to specific capabilities. So, for example, people managing an IT landscape in a big organization that is regulated by some agencies, they typically have a configuration management database. And maybe if it's a big company and it's
what you mean CMDB?
The CMDB, yes.
The CMDB, please.
Yes, but a CMDB exists, right? And if a company has had several mergers and acquisitions, it has several CMDBs. They have perhaps been integrated, but chances are they have not been integrated. You also have at least one data catalog. Maybe you have several data catalogs if you have multiple data science teams that believe some believe in the Amazon cloud universe, some believe in Azure, some believe in Google, and if you have like a distributed setup with a lot of decision makers with a lot of credit cards, then you most likely have a multi-cloud reality. They all have their own data catalog in there.
Have you heard of a shop called Hamleys? There's a very famous toy store in London called Hamleys, Hamleys.
Huh?
That's the enterprise catalog graveyard.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Everybody's bought all these toys. They bought all these toys because they've all got special toys. Yeah. But
exactly.
none of them talk to each other.
That's exactly the problem, right? So that's the problem I'm addressing in the second book. It's the fact that you can build a perfect technology, for example, a data catalog. And I obviously think you can do that and you can deliver great results. But if you address an enterprise reality, an enterprise-wide reality, understand that there are multiple CMDBs, there are multiple data catalogs, there are multiple integration repositories or data pipeline tools, or whatever you want to call them. There are multiple endpoint management systems. You have enterprise architecture management systems, business process management systems, asset management systems, and all these systems contain a picture of the IT landscape at the metadata level. So that's a reality that's not up for debate. This is not something we discuss. Any tech vendor will say we deliver. No, I'm getting very categorical here. That's not right. But too many tech vendors will say we know all of this and we can address all of those problems. And I have one answer to that. No, you cannot. And so...
Does it have a B and an S in it?
What? B and
S. B, and S. In the word, does it have B and S in it?
What's that?
Does it have the letters B and S in the actual explanation? When you said, when all these different vendors say, we can do all that stuff, and you go,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Good, great. And there's a B and an S in that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's a lot of BS in tech. Yeah, that's for sure. But but the reality, so the reality I address is that like none of these tools exists without a purpose. They all have a purpose. So what I'm saying is, don't hate the technology. Don't try to make them go away, but make them talk to each other. And this architecture that is very much inspired by decentralized architecture such as data mesh and microservices, I call this architecture a MetaGrid. And the MetaGrid is really saying that, okay, if you have 3 different data catalogs looking at various parts of your IT landscape to expose what kind of data is in there, and if you have like 2 CMDBs and I don't know, an information security management system and or 2, and a knowledge management system for learning purposes. Like if you're talking about your business processes, try to coordinate that metadata across these different tools. Not so that it's harmonized, because every meta model expresses the intention of the repository it structures. So the meta models won't align, and you can't force them to align. It has no purpose. But coordinate that in documentation, in diagrams, in data sets if you need to, and perhaps also in technical specification. Like you can write a data contract if you want to exchange that type of metadata. But typically what we're talking about here are amounts of data that are so small that you shouldn't over-engineer this. This is first and foremost a semantic exercise. The technology
it's the data about the data. It's not the actual data. Yeah,
exactly. So I had a lot of things that I needed to, like a lot of guardrails for this book. When we talk about metadata, engineers tend to go down paths that I don't find that constructive. Like they put layers upon layers upon layers to really talk about the metadata. And I don't think that is very interesting. And
what do they do? What do they do? You said they.
If you look at UML, for example, this notation, like they have, it's just an example, right? I have nothing against UML, nothing. But it's just, if you look into it, like they have meta layers of meta layer of like.
So what you're saying is they overcomplicate it, they over-engineer it.
They over-engineer it, they overcomplicate metadata. That's not at all what my book is about. Not at all. Not at all. What I'm saying is, actually, I think the data community have misunderstood what metadata is. When we discuss metadata, we say, oh, but there is business metadata, there's technical metadata, there's operational metadata, and they list a lot of subcategories of metadata. But going back to the Greeks, back to ancient times, listing subcategories of a category won't define your category, my friend. That is not a definition of a category. Those are examples. So if we're looking at the very nature of what metadata is, we have to scrape away all the subcategories and look at what the metadata as a category itself does. And so my definition of metadata that I put forward in my book, and I think it's unique, I haven't met this definition anywhere else, except that it's deeply rooted in library information science. It's just not explicit, right? But metadata is something that fundamentally is in 2 places at once. It's at source with what it describes, and somewhere else so you can find that source. That's metadata. It's in 2 places at once, and it can be whatever you want it to be. There's no necessity to cut it up in subcategories. It does not make us understand what metadata itself is. Metadata is in 2 places at once.
Yeah, because what you're saying is that definition traverses business, operational, and technical.
Yeah.
In what you've abstracted it to a pure level.
It's not important what it is in terms of understanding metadata itself, because the problem of metadata being in 2 places at once is that this multiplies. If it is in 2 places at once, it can be in many places at once. a document, or let's say a data source, can be represented at the metadata level in a data catalog, in an information security management system, in a business process management system, in many, many places. And it is represented in many other places. And that's the core of the problem. And I'm not saying with this book that we should boil the ocean and you should map this complexity in its entirety. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that you can gradually improve the reality that you find yourself in by understanding that there is a link between the business process management system, between the quality management system, between the enterprise architecture management system, between all these systems that maps or holds the same kind of metadata. And if you understand these relations, you can make all these technologies work better.
So thank you for this. Thank you for explaining it, actually, because that's very useful. And because I think you're right. There is depending on what people's backgrounds are, yeah, they have a lens on this topic, don't they? They have a kind of a perspective on it. So you get, if you went into a room and said, okay, everybody give a definition of metadata, there'd be some variation there,
yeah.
But what I think you kind of doing with MetaGrid is you're kind of becoming the glue, yeah. You're becoming the glue. I don't know if is it in the brain, the synapses, that actually connect all the different pieces of value, right? And
exactly.
The thing that is incredible is that it's also another incredible piece of work you've done, because actually we are now in 2025, and I've got an inbound call, actually. Hello, Demetrius. You've come back from the grave, right? And so like the Greek, thinker. When he was creating that library information system for the greatest Greek library. It's incredible. You fast forward to 2025, and the great thing you've done is, because you've stepped back from this particular problem, and you've effectively done some critical thinking on it, and people are now going, oh wow, that's incredible. But all you've done is you've critically thought about it and said, forget all this kind of chaos. How do we actually make this, get some clarity from this chaos and connect all the value so people can actually get productivity out of it, which is great.
Thank you, Andy. There's a very simple, in my first book, obviously. Oh, I'm getting excited here. The microphone bounces, but in my first book, my comparison or my point of departure intellectually was the catalog, like the library catalog. Let's take something that has worked for 150 years, that experienced a digital revolution, that became machine readable, digitized, and distributed. So it's not something that's foreign to technical evolution. It's not like card catalog versus data catalogs. That's a misunderstanding.
It's impervious. To all those technology evolutions.
Let's just take this extremely refined tradition and push it into the data catalog universes, because the data catalog universe really, really lacked that understanding, right? And I opened the door. I won't take credit for all the possibilities that this door opened. That's why I think Jessica Talisman, for example, and a lot of other, Jenna Jordan, Amalia Child, Stephen Clark, there's a lot of people out there that think like me and that has unique perspectives that are not mine and that I won't take credit for in that space. But for my second book, just as the catalog, the library catalog, was like the totem for my first book, I have a totem for my second book, which is the Referrer's Librarian. Back in the days, if you had some kind of complicated information need, you could go into a highly skilled part of the library where people with good information seeking practices would help you. So you could ask all kinds of questions, like chatbot questions that we would normally ask these days to chatbots, and they would be able to assemble an answer based on a lot of different sources. Now imagine if that person, or as I obviously discuss in my book, that interface that is like a chatbot interface based on large language models and AI in general. Imagine if you could ask, how many applications do we have in my company? So right now, what is happening is that if you ask the enterprise architecture team, they will look in their tool and they will say, we have 491. And if you ask the CMDB guys, they will say, we have 5,208. And if you ask the chief information security officer that has the tasks of mapping the criticality of the information in those systems, that person will say, no, we have 10,780.
So there's an IVOT. There's an IVOT number. Oh, there's an IVOT problem. So IVOT, one version of the truth.
Yes, exactly. That's why I draw also on the there's a taxonomy of monoliths in the team topologies book that I use also.
Matthew's book, Team Topologies. Yeah.
Yeah. So so I cite that in my book. And I call this the single view of the world monolith. I argue actually that each metadata repository is a single view of the world monolith. They think they have the truth. That is a big problem.
Well, that's the thing I was just going to say was if you look at these landscapes, right? Everybody wants to be king of the castle. Yeah.
Yes.
It's me. Yes. Me. I'm king. No, I'm king. I'm prince. I'm king. It's like it's nuts.
And that's I also put forward. So anyway, I want to get back to the idea of the notion of the reference librarian. But before I do that, I also have a small sociology in my book that I call The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And it's tech vendors, external consultants, and employees. But they can all three parties can be the good, the bad, and the ugly. But you can push technology for the wrong reasons, or the good reasons, or just ugly reasons in every company. And all three parties do that. Some tech vendors sometimes do something good. Some employees also sometimes do something good. But we all know, and you've been in the industry yourself, we all know that if you want to be VP in a company, you need to push that system into production.
Yeah, but you see that
no matter the functionality. Right? I'm
just going to make another Clint Eastwood reference. You see, so the good, the bad, and the ugly, and for a few dollars more. Yeah. We know we could have another catalog.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so there's a sociology in play in this, a strong sociology, which needs to be addressed. So anyway, it's a tech book, but it's a weird tech book. There's some sociology in it. There's library information science in it.
You've triggered another song in my head as well. It's not without going like films to music. Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, exactly. That's really a great comparison. But I want to get back to the reference librarian because, the reference librarian, and I was like just old enough to have been trained in that with physical books. So like it's so imagine you have the Encyclopedia Britannica, and next to that you have a lot of other like very rich, very well-maintained sources in multiple languages. I could do this in German and French and English and Danish, all the other Scandinavian languages. I could assemble. So imagine that you get a question like a really complicated question that could be about agriculture or industrial development in some country related to foreign policy, anything. So what the reference librarian would do would be to consult all these sources, and from the consultation of all these sources, assemble a complete answer specific to a specific answer to that specific user. Imagine if we could do the same thing with all the metadata repositories that we have in our company, mediated through a chatbot, like train generative AI on the documentation that a MetaGrid would assemble from all these metadata repositories. Like, imagine how cool that would be. That's how I end my book, because like the MetaGrid that I talk about is not a technology. It's not a technology. It's not a standard. It's not a framework. It's just an idea of coordinating metadata repositories better. It's really all it is.
You got me on fire today. So you triggered another idea. See, so it's a bit like Dorothy, isn't it, with her red shoes? Yeah. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. It's the Wizard of Oz, right? So the Wizard of Metadata. In the end, there's the Emerald City, which is where you've got this utopia of all this metadata all works seamlessly together.
Yeah,
and all the employees, they're all super. Actually, you mentioned this book actually, which is the thing about the search bar, right? The enterprise search bar.
Yeah.
I feel lucky. Yeah. Serendipity.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what I think you're trying to say you could enable if you get your act together as an organization.
I think you could at least get way better at it. I cannot understand, there's still a part in my brain that cannot understand that we're using so much money on this, and it's the functionality of metadata repositories and companies.
But it's foundational.
It's foundational, and it's still often not.
But it's an education. I think it's an education. It's an educational issue. What I celebrate for you is for writing this bridge. Writing this piece of work and then creating the bridge. Because then I think only through education and evangelism, which is what you're doing now when you work at Active, is actually getting the word out there to executives. In the businesses I was at, I was in GE, and then I was in SAP and in Tesco. So very data-driven companies.
Sure.
Especially GE. I mean, we were doing stuff in GE 10 years before everybody else was doing it. We were doing CRM in 1991. Before even Salesforce was created.
Cool.
So that's the thing. I think depending what kind of organization they either get it or they don't. Yeah. Where are they on that continuum of world class versus learning? Yeah. Toddler. Yeah. And I suppose that's the challenge that we all are faced with this thing. And how do you also land the concepts? Because there are some concepts about libraries and librarian and reference people can relate to. So I celebrate the stuff you've done about bridging those different worlds. It's great. It's fantastic. That's why I wanted you on the show, because I think it is incredible that we're in 2025 and this stuff hasn't been brought together. But it's also the critical thinking you brought together, which I think is the great stuff you've done. And it's important. It's important work.
Thank you, Andy. I think my contribution to the data community is not something that you can repeat. I think what you can repeat is the pattern. If you expose yourself to multiple realities and you think critically about it, just like yourself, you get some insights that you cannot obtain if you have only been with a software vendor or only been in industry. You have to put yourself in situations where what you meet. And for me, it was just a coincidence, right? I wanted so badly to become a professor that I read a lot of books. I went to a lot of conferences. I got a skill set that was really deep. And then I went into industry and I saw that skill set was very needed and not very present, if I may say so. And so that made me
20 years ago, I was running a mobile telco as a COO. So, you can just imagine that. And I had no clue what a mobile telco was before I was running it. No, I'm joking.
No, but
you have to learn fast.
Fast, but you don't. You also have to not forget what you've already learned, right? I think that is.
Well, you have to learn fast, and you also have to challenge sacred cows. Where I think when you go into an industry, you have to also think about. Some people have been there for a long time. Is that you look at it through your lens. You look at it through your lens of experience, and you go, why do you have to do that? That seems completely inefficient and wasteful.
Totally.
Cut it in half.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. So, that's the thing about traversing different industries like you've done in life sciences and the kind of things you've done with StoreNord.
GN stands for Great Northern. That's a cool
Great Northern.
But they only keep the abbreviation. I said it when I was there the last time I met. We should just
the longhand. Yeah.
Great Northern. That's a fantastic name, right, for a company. Anyway, and I think I need to run to I actually have a meeting here at the hour, so I don't know if you...
No, you can't leave now. It's impossible to leave now. I'm joking. No, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Andy. I hope we get to meet in Copenhagen. And
we will. I've got a little cunning plan about that. But yeah, great. Thank you for coming on the show, Ole. Ole Olesen-Bagneux, which is the very good author of this book, and also the new book, which is called
Fundamentals of Metadata Management,
which is available on O'Reilly.
Yes.
You know, Tim O'Reilly's outfit, which is a fantastic publisher, and available at all good pop stores, retail stores, and online, available soon. And you can buy it in an ebook through the Actium website.
You can get it for free.
Get it for free, actually. You don't have to pay for it, actually. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on the show today, and we will catch up soon, and have a wonderful day. Thanks for coming on the show today.
You too, Andy. Have a wonderful day.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Ciao.